Hello and welcome to the very first episode of Top 10 Knits. This episode covers patterns released between May and June 2021. I felt immense joy and inspiration over the past few months finding all these new patterns, so much so that I decided I would like to share them and create a brand new YouTube channel to highlight my top 10 knits. The links to all the patterns can be found in the show notes below, and the order of preference of these 10 knits has been determined by the video editing software. So let's take a look. The Little Boxes Socks by Summerlee Design Company lifted my mood immediately. They look so cheery, they look so fun and quick to finish, and I just looked at them and thought these are perfect for my Pilates class and the ideal stash buster for all the wee bits of leftover yarn I have in a jar on my shelf. They're a fantastic opportunity to play with some really bright, bold contrasts that I maybe wouldn't be so confident doing for jumpers and the like. In Summer, the designer's words, they are an easy to memorise pattern, addictive to make, and these little socks will have you diving into your stash again and again for different colour combinations. I couldn't agree more, that's the first thing I thought when I saw them. In terms of the construction of them, she has a YouTube channel and I've put the link in the show notes and it will talk you through the process if you've never done socks before. They come in 4 sizes, small, medium, large and extra large, and use barely any yarn. You've got 3 colours of 4-ply that you need. So for the main colour you're going to be looking at 73 to 109 metres or 80 to 120 yards. For colour number 1 you've got 54 to 73 metres or 60 to 80 yards, and for colour 2 you're looking at 49 to 64 metres or 54 to 70 yards. So really not much at all, maybe a quarter of a 100 gram skein for the main colour and much less for the rest. The pattern is £4.51 on Etsy, and I'll put the full details in the show notes below for a link to buying the pattern. I would highly recommend it and I can't wait to cast these on myself. Babels by Jennifer Beale of Knit J Beale Designs is a lovely loose-fitting summery and floaty cardigan. Immediately caught my eye. Looks quite wrappable and cosy, and I was really fascinated by this sleeve pattern, highly unusual. I recognised the old Shetland lace pattern from Heirloom Knitting. I've never seen it used in such a modern and up-to-date way. Really like it. In the designer's words, her inspiration is that Babels on the eastern coast of the Avalon Peninsula in Newfoundland and Labrador has several theories behind the origins of its name. One of the favourable theories is that it is named after the dovekey, a little black and white seabird whose nickname is the bullbird. As a birdwatcher, I am chuffed to bits with this connection. I had no idea. I looked it up and we call it an auk, an A-U-K it's spelt. It just draws me to the pattern even more, and now I understand the old Shetland lace pattern is called bird's eye. This is brilliant. And I think with the light coloured one, it's got a kind of sea foamy effect. The cream looks like sea foam. Definitely a beach wearing style of cardigan. It's worked bottom up and has a dolman sleeve, making it nice and loose fitting with an oversized fit. It comes in 7 sizes from 32.25 inches up to 59.25 inches or 81.5 to 150 centimetres. The ease is up to you, I think between 0 and 4 inches or 0 and 10 centimetres. The yarn is fantastic, Jameson & Smith Shetland Supreme 2-ply lace weight. Their designer advises between 7 and 11 balls depending on your size, but she suggests getting a cone would be better, presumably because then you have less knots. On the other side, with such an open lace weight pattern, you're going to want minimal weaving in on the insides. The pattern cost is Canadian $12, which works out to be approximately £7. And she's asked that if you are knitting this, please use the hashtag BabelsCardigan on Instagram so she can find it and we can find each other. All in all, a beautiful knit. I really love it. I love the bird connection and I definitely want to knit this one. The Striped Doodle Cowl by Jamie Lomax is an infinity cowl. It has a really clean graphic pattern which is really eye-catching, and it has a very contemporary looking style, especially with the colours she's chosen for her pattern. It looks really cosy. In Jamie's words, she says this cowl was designed with a beginner knitter in mind. If you're new to colourwork or want to see what it's like to design your own cowl, this is a great way to dive in. Set up as a series of simple striped or dotted mini charts, this Choose Your Knit Venture pattern is sure to provide lots of fun. What a fabulously creative idea. Mix and match your own charts to make a personal to you cowl and learn new colourwork skills along the way. This is brilliant. The first time I saw it, I thought I want to copy this exactly. But now I'm thinking, oh, there's all kinds of different ideas that I could go along with this. In terms of construction, it is an infinity cowl and it's knit in the round with stranded colourwork and a grafted Kitchener stitch. She says, if infinity is not your thing, this pattern also includes a single-sided hack, as well as instructions for altering the pattern to fingering or worsted weight yarns. It's a one size 26 inch 66 cm circumference. The pattern is designed to be knit with fingering, worsted or DK weight, using specific yarn bought for the pattern or scraps in your stash. If you're using DK, you're going to need about 640 to 685 metres, or about 700 to 750 yards. If following this exact pattern, you're going to need between 210 to 230 metres, or 230 yards to 250 yards of each colour. The pattern costs £6.35, and I think it's a great idea to learn new skills, a fun project partway between following a pattern and designing for yourself. Love it. This cardigan by Layla of Ching Fibre is absolutely stunning. It's called the Soufflé Batwing cardigan, and as soon as I saw it, I just fell in love. I just love the etherealness, the coziness. It looks so light, it looks so warm, and I just want to cast it on immediately. As the designer says, it's a boxy, oversized with impressive batwing sleeve cardigan, and it's meant for those summer days when you just want to throw something over a dress that looks nice and dressy and is flattering for all shapes and sizes. It's got a really interesting construction actually. The two front stockingette panels, they're knitted first, and then you pick up stitches along the back and for the two front panels for the cardigan and knit them down. Once you get to the underarm, you're joining all three pieces together and knitting it straight down to the bottom, so you can get the perfect length for you that suits you, and you don't have to seam up the edges. And then you're left with the sleeves. So if you pick up along the sleeves and then you can just knit straight down from there. Again, you can get the perfect length for your sleeve. This is a beautiful pattern, and it's £7.50 including VAT from Ching Fibre's website, which I've put all the links in the show notes. It's an extremely luxury knit. You're looking at either 4 to 6 skeins of the lace weight cashmere silk blend, Veranita, or 4 to 6 skeins of the light fingering weight cashmere Soufflé. Both of these are £30 to £33.30 per skein, but they are cashmere, so this is an investment knit, and once you knit this, you're going to wear it forever. I absolutely love it. The toe water patterns are made up of a hat and cowl collection. They're a collaboration between designers Jennifer Berg and Tressa Weidenauer. I love a graphic print, and I was immediately drawn to these when I saw them on Instagram. They have lovely bold patterning, and I was keen to find out what they represented. The pattern looks like cloud and rain, and as someone who comes from Glasgow, which rains pretty much every day, I was immediately interested. In the designer's words, water and the lack of it are always deep concerns in the desert southwest. Toe is the Navajo word for water. Many places on the reservation are named for natural springs or other water sources. As water can often be scarce in these lands, it is revered and deeply important for the many tribes in the southwest. The clouds and rain of the monsoon season are always welcomed. These designs represent our interpretation of rain and clouds that we cherish. I think this is lovely. I was really drawn to it even more after reading that. The tam is knit in the round from brim to crown, and I think the cowl is similarly knit in the round. The tam is one size and the cowl is meant to be worn without much ease. The yarn they've used is a worsted weight yarn in 2 colours, about 110 metres or 120 yards of the main colour, and 78 metres or 85 yards of the contrasting colour. The yarn they have used is part of the Four Corners Fibre Collective, and it's called High Desert Worsted 50-50 Navajo Churro and Merino blend from Indigenous and Rural Shepherds. I'll put a link in the show notes so you can have a look. The pattern cost varies between about $8, which is about £5.81 on Payhip, to $7.25 on Etsy, so I'll put both of those links in the show notes. I think these are really bold, graphic hat and cowl, and I'm really impressed with them. I really like them. The Sumu cardigan by Suvi Knits, a knitwear designer from Finland, is absolutely beautiful. There's an embroidered flower detail done in the same yarn as the cardigan, which gives it a really classy touch. It looks really expensive. There's some kind of aura of still or calm around this cardigan that really drew me to it. In the designer's words, Sumu is a classic V-neck cardigan with delicate flower embroidery on the shoulders. Sumu means mist in Finnish, and I apologise for any pronunciation. The construction is seamless and top down. It's a raglan with a slight A shaping towards the bottom. It comes in a really generous 8 sizes, fitting actual bust at 25 to 56 inches or 70 to 140 centimetres. It's designed to be worn with around 5.5 to 6.25 inches of ease or 13.5 to 15.5 centimetres of ease. The yarn is a worsted Aran weight. The yarn the designer uses, I'm not even going to try and pronounce, so I'll just put it up on the picture. It's 335 to 625 grams, and she suggests that if you want to substitute this yarn, that you use a rustic wool yarn that's slightly coarse and uneven. So even though it will be listed as sport weight, it will come out closer to an Aran weight or a worsted weight. The pattern cost is £6.20 on Payhip to £4.86 on Lovecrafts, and it's available as an English or a Finnish pattern. I think this is absolutely beautiful, and Suvi would like that if you knit it, if you could share photos of your version on Instagram using the hashtag SuviKnits. The Colour Craze Cowl by Tammy Gore of Narrow Path Knit Design is a drapey autumnal warm cowl that really grabbed my attention. I've been looking for an introduction into brioche that isn't intimidating, and this looks like a really fun, relaxing knit with bursts of brioche concentration and some more relaxing textures in between. In Tammy's own words, she says, "With brioche, slip stitches and a bit of colour play thrown in for good measure, this cowl kept me on my toes. The varying textures and sections made it an absolute joy to knit up. Just like the shawl version, this is great for stash busting those minis and playing with colours." I didn't realise there was also a shawl version, so I dashed off to have a look for that. I will put the link in the show notes for that too. The construction of the cowl is knit in the round and ends up at a width of 29 centimetres or 11.5 inches and a height of 61 centimetres or 24 inches, although I imagine you can play with those sizes if you wish. The yarn is 100 grams of 4-ply. The sample used 265 metres, 290 yards, plus 5 4-ply mini skeins. The details of these exact yarns that are used in this photo, Tammy's has included them in her pattern description. The pattern costs £6.34, and the shawl pattern also costs £6.34, so you can choose which one you'd rather knit. And I think it looks like an absolutely great knit. Take a look at the hashtag ColourCrazeCowl, American spelling of colour there, and you can see all the brilliant colour options from her test knitters. Brilliant. Re by Christina of Mini Me Knit Design really caught my eye. Lovely simplicity of shape, it's airy and soft looking, and it looks like it would be a quick knit. In Christina's words, Re is light, airy and just a bit edgy. It's the perfect layering piece to add drama to any ensemble. Its simple construction makes it ideal for beginners. It's got a very good simple construction, bottom up in the round to the armholes, and then you separate and work the front and back separately to the shoulders. I really like that she's made it that the shoulder seams are adjustable to your preferences. You can make it so they're loose and off the shoulder, or you can have a more closed fit. This is perfect for me as I have very narrow shoulders and often find jumpers that aren't meant to will slip off my shoulders. It comes in a great range of sizes. It's been recently updated and expanded to have 10 sizes from chest 48 to 83.25 inches or 121.5 to 211.5 centimetres. Bear in mind this size includes the intended ease of 14 to 18 inches or 35.5 to 45.5 centimetres. So once you add that on, you're looking at something that's soft, drapey and has plenty of room. The yarn that's been used is a lace weight. The designer has used Knit Picks Aloft, which is a 75% Super Kid mohair, 25% silk, 2 to 3 25 gram balls. I don't really have access to Knit Picks in the UK, so there are plenty of UK indie dyers who are using a similar base at the moment that you could use as a substitute. Doesn't take much meterage at all. 295 to 600 metres across the range of sizes, and that's 325 to 655 yards. So really a perfect small short knit using very little yarn. The pattern cost varies depending on the platform you purchase from at the moment. It seems to be between $5.50 to $7.50. I'll put them all in the show notes for you. All in all, I really like this knit and I think it'll be perfect for beginners. The Greyhound Series by Marian Schlenska is a set of 5 accessories. 3 have been published so far, a beanie, fingerless mittens and a scarf, and there will be an ebook once all 5 patterns have been released. This is the first time I've ever seen Marian's designs. They stood straight out on Instagram to me, visually shimmering, breathtaking. I love a gradient and this is perfect. A really contemporary looking colour work. I have not seen colour work patterns like this before. In Marian's words, the Greyhound series, she has created a small collection of accessories that could appeal to both women and men. Blue turquoise colours meander over natural brown and beige tones. This pattern comes in English and German language. The construction is for the scarf. It's knitted flat, not more than 2 colours per row, and is one size, 25 centimetres wide to 205 centimetres long. The beanie and the fingerless mittens are both knitted in the round. The beanie is a one size that fits head circumference 55 to 58 centimetres, and the fingerless mitt is one size fitting 18.5 to 21 centimetres hand circumference. The yarn used is Jameson of Shetland Spindrift in 10 colours, which is a fantastic yarn and comes in a multitude of colours, so you could pick your own colours if you wanted. The pattern cost is £5.81 for the fingerless mittens or the beanie and £5.79 for the scarf, or you can just wait for the 5 pattern ebook to be released. I love the idea of this set as I have so many mismatched shawls, fingerless mittens and hats, and I've been trying to do much better in knitting more cohesive sets. These knits are sure to stand out and be a great fun knit with an added challenge for more intermediate knitters. Wildflower Meadow is a yoke jumper by Hannah of Yarnia Designs. The soft natural colours with that fab hot pink pop are really appealing. I'm always drawn to any pattern that echoes a 70s retro flower plant style, and this just hit the nail on the head. I love how the lush wildflowers in the background are perfectly aligned with the wildflowers in the jumper pattern. In Hannah's words, the organic, untamed nature of wildflowers is portrayed within the colourwork yoke and reminds me of carefree summer days. This will be the perfect piece in your wardrobe for transitioning through seasons or to keep you warm on cooler summer evenings. The construction is a top-down circular yoke in stranded colourwork, and it comes in a hugely size-inclusive 10 sizes, with a bust between 31.5 to 67.5 inches, or 80 to 171.5 centimetres. She recommends approximately 2 to 6 inches or 5 to 15 centimetres of ease with this one. It's knit in 4-ply, and Hannah collaborated with the yarn dyer Botanical Yarn for this jumper, which contains 4 colourways. If you'd like to copy the exact colours, there are kits available from Botanical Yarn, and I will put links in the show notes for that. She also has a couple of other colourway kits available too. The jumper requires between 796 to 1710 metres, or between 970 to 1870 yards in total, depending on the size you're knitting. The pattern costs £6, or you can buy the kit from between £65 to £26, depending on the size. As a lover of wildflowers, bees and butterflies, I love this wildflower inspired design. If you'd like to see Hannah herself talk about her design, I've also included a link to her podcast episode below. And that's my top 10 knits. Thank you so much for watching. All images have been used with the very kind permission of the knitting designers, and I'd like to say a particular thanks to them for giving me that permission for my very first episode of my channel. I haven't been paid in any way, and no designers have contacted me to be featured. This is very much just me feeling so inspired by the new designers and patterns that I found that I wanted to share them with you. Links to the patterns and designers' Instagram accounts are available in the show notes below. If you like what you see, please let me know. And if there are any amazing designers you'd like to see on the channel, please get in touch. Do like, share and subscribe, and I will see you next time on Top 10 Knits.